That was a scary introduction, wasn't it? Between the creepy music, the scary guys, the guys with the scary face painted on them. This is quite a chilling game, isn't it? It is not often that a game like this comes along and scares the bejesus out of me. What is this game? It is Manhunt. You play as James Earl Cash, who has been spared from execution by a sadistic snuff film director, Lionel Starkweather. As James Earl Cash, you are spared from execution and given a massive sedative, and when you wake up from your sedative, you wake up in a dark, secluded room with a voice coming on over the speakers that is just begging you to put on this strange little earpiece, and once you put it on, he is the man that is the voice in your head throughout the rest of the game. Once the gameplay starts, you walk outside and you meet this mysterious gang called the Hoods. They're just a group of violent people that just want nothing more than to beat you down for the entertainment of Mr. Lionel Starkweather. But as the game progresses and gets harder and harder, you face more and more twisted individuals that find you easier and chase you around with guns throughout the city. Now, back at the start of the video, I mentioned that this game gave me nightmares. Can any of you guess as to why this game gave me nightmares? I'll give you a few seconds. Time's up. Okay, so what gave me nightmares about this game? Place yourself in James Earl Cash's shoes. You are a man that has just woken up from being spared from an execution, and you have people that are just wanting to hunt you down and kill you and cut you up.
And they're here to hunt you down and cut you up.
You have to run, hide, stalk your enemies in the shadows, and also try to avoid creatures like this. As a 20-something-year-old kid playing this game, I will admit that I was drinking during this game, so it just made the scary and fear atmosphere that much more greater. Growing up playing this game, my cousin and I took turns playing it, but eventually it ended up with me playing it, and it was just scary as hell just trying to survive this game, as every noise you make is detected, and you have to stalk and skulk around in the shadows to make sure you are not seen. And as you hunt down and attack your victims, you either have to leave them out as bait, or you have to hide them to make sure that they don't find you. After many hours of playing this game, you want to know how many hours roughly it took me to complete this game? About 20. Because I played at a snail's pace because I did not want to take the chance of being hit, attacked, or detected. And you want to know the biggest scene in this game that gave me nightmare fuel? Here, I'll introduce you to this guy, Pigsy. A chainsaw-wielding guy who's not quite all there. Now, after beating this guy and completing the game, you are given access to replay the levels, and you have to do better and earn better rankings so that you can get access to cheat codes, which I took full advantage of these cheat codes, as these cheat codes were things like silence, so your footsteps were silenced, fully tooled up, so you started the level with a load of weapons instead of nothing. And there were also other cheat codes like regeneration, which regenerated your health, and there were funny cheat codes such as helium hunters, where the people that were hunting you down and trying to kill you talk with a helium voice. There were also costume codes, which I didn't care much for, as the only costume codes there were was for a white rabbit that you hunt down in a later level, and a costume where you played as Pigsy, which, unless you can play with this chainsaw the whole game, I was all set on that one. Now, with these cheat codes in hand, this game was my revenge pinata, as I would replay the levels and I would just run through and mow down every enemy in my path. That's kind of a, haha, I beat the game and now I'm going to enjoy it to the max. Nowadays, we're in a survival horror renaissance. We have remakes of Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space out. GTA 5 is getting its 500th console port. We have a Silent Hill 2 remake that is coming down the pipeline. And if you look on Steam, there are some pretty good, delectable, and tasty choices to sink your teeth into if you're a survival horror fan. Now, why am I making this video? I have one plea for Rockstar Games, and that is remake Manhunt. Now, Manhunt 2, that one can sit on the wayside. That stirred up more trouble than the first game. Please, Rockstar Games, remake Manhunt. Now, you can either dial up or dial down some of the violent, gruesome, and gore effects that happen in this game. I remember reading articles about how making this game, it kind of gave some of the developers and people making the game some nightmares. I got nightmares too just from playing it, so I can only imagine what your development team went through making this game. With all the horror games that are coming out this year, Manhunt deserves a second chance. And with the new console and hardware, may I make a suggestion? If you remake Manhunt, you can also kind of give James Earl Cash a backstory, as how he wound up in prison is a mystery to everybody. There's plenty of fan theories that kind of point in the direction that, he used to work for the mob, and that's how he got caught and imprisoned. And not to mention the fact that there's all kinds of Grand Theft Auto Easter eggs that are in Manhunt that kind of connect the two worlds together. I mean, even if you can find a way to find a happy balance between the violence and telling a creepy story in Manhunt, who knows, maybe you can even take the money from a successful Manhunt reboot and pay for the therapy of the development team. For the most part, I think we need a Manhunt remake that kind of dives further into James Earl Cash's backstory. Like I said earlier, you can either dial up or dial down the violence in the game. Even some of the gruesome cutscenes that happen as you kill people in the game. It's like, yes, the sound design, I will give kudos to. The sound design is brutal, and that's kind of some of where my nightmare feel came from. So keep the sound and, the violence, do with it as you please. Considering what we see in the Grand Theft Auto games, Resident Evil, just all of the horror stuff that's come out recently. I mean, have you seen the peel system that's in Dead Space? Mwah! Chef's kiss. So Rockstar Games, remake Manhunt and give it a modern update. I will take us out with Lionel Starkweather giving us his famous line from the opening of the game.
It's up to you. Okay, are you ready? Camera, action.